which I will always say that's the best investment we can make. If I had one more tax dollar, I'd put it into high-quality pre-K and getting our babies off to a good start. We were able to help hundreds of thousands of additional children get access to pre-K and feel great about that. So that's one bucket is equity. The second bucket for me is excellence, having a high bar for all students. So part of what we tried to incentivize and raise to the top was states having standards where students who graduate from high school actually could take college classes for college credit. And we talk a lot about the high cost of college. What we don't talk about, and that's real, what we don't talk about in the United States is we spend $8 to $9 billion each year for young people in college to take remedial classes. That means they're paying college tuition, taking high school classes, and getting no credit for it. And so we just challenge people to raise the bar. So that's the excellence. And the third one is innovation, that there's so many good ideas and education improves far too slowly. But for all the myriad of challenges we face, somewhere, someplace, people are solving those challenges. Urban, rural, remote, again, Native American reservations, it doesn't matter. What we don't do is we don't scale what works. We don't have more schools, more students, more teachers have access to that. So those three things, equity, excellence, and innovation, for me, those are the pillars that I think where the federal role is critically important, and feel good about the progress we made on all of those fronts. At the end of the day, seeing high school graduation rates hit all-time highs, being able to get an additional $40 billion for Pell Grants without going back to taxpayers for a nickel, went from 6 million Pell recipients to 9 million, getting over a million additional students of color going into college. Those are all things that were immensely gratifying. On the other side of the ledger, on the failures, too many, but the two big ones. First is we desperately wanted some kind of immigration reform to happen. And for us, that would have been, it would have meant being able to get financial aid for dreamers, for undocumented students. And the fact that we have so many students across the country, and I met many of them who, America is the country they love, it's the country they grew up in, got great grades, were community leaders, some were valedictorians. The fact that we closed the door of opportunity, slammed that shut at the college level, makes no sense to me. We cut off our nose to spite our face, and we got nothing done there. The second issue is, again, on this issue of gun violence. And President Obama, by definition, the President of the United States deals with the hardest issues on the planet. That's what they do every single day. He has said publicly, the same was true for me, that his hardest day in D.C., my hardest day in D.C. was the day of the Sandy Hook massacre in Newtown, Connecticut, where 20 babies and 5 teachers and the principal there were massacred. And he went down the next day to spend time with those families. The vice president and I went down 2 or 3 days later, went to the funeral of the wonderful principal there. And the fact that subsequent to that, we got nothing done, zero, in terms of common sense gun legislation in this country, was also a massive failure.
So gun violence is clearly the focus of your career now and where your heart lies. You started your education here in Chicago, your educational career here in Chicago. And right now you're working with Chicago CRED, which stands for Chicago Creating Real Economic Destiny, with the goal of organizing young men to get jobs, giving them minimum wage jobs, and giving them market wages to get them off the streets and, as your website says, turn street cred into real cred. But Chicago CRED starts small. You guys are only working with around 100 men at a time. And I'm interested, as you're working with these young guys, how are you guys thinking about the future of Chicago CRED, scaling up? How is this going to turn into something that is a transformative change for Chicago?
We have a lot of hard work ahead of us, and it's a little sometimes confusing to people that we both do the work ourselves and we fund the work. So we're both a worker and a funder. So actually combining what we're actually doing ourselves with partners and other partners we're funding. We started with 30 guys in fall of 16, and now in spring of 19, we're up to several hundred, 400 or 500. Our goal is to get as soon as we can to 1,000 and keep going from there. And we're working in Chicago. The violence, 15 neighborhoods produce 75% of the violence. The vast majority of young men shooting and being shot are young black men of color, 18 to 24. So that's who we're working very directly with. We have amazing young men We help on hard and soft skills. We help on trauma care. We've had dozens of guys get their high school diplomas. We have guys write their autobiographies that are unbelievably powerful. We do public readings, and we'd love to bring some of our guys to come speak to students there at some point if that would be interesting to hear their stories. Literally yesterday, I took some of our guys down to Montgomery, Alabama, where we spoke to the board and management team of Southern New Hampshire University. We had many of them in tears just hearing the power of our guys' story. Afterwards, we went to the Equal Justice Museum and Memorial, Brian Stevenson, who I just have so much respect for, and having our guys just sort of soak up that history and see the connection from when they were locked up and going back to, mass incarceration today, slave labor in the past, seeing that direct link was actually mind-blowing for them. One of our guys who I took down yesterday has been shot 10 times. We have other guys who have been shot multiple times. And I would say they are not the problem, they're the solution. And they are not just transforming their lives. These are community leaders who are bringing other guys with them. And every new set of guys we work with, they're basically referred to other guys, their friends from their cliques. So this is some of the toughest work I've ever done. Emotionally, it's very, very tough. But it's I'm actually hopeful. I'm hopeful where we can go as a city. 2016, we started working, was a horrific year in terms of violence. 2017, we saw a 15% reduction. 2018, we saw another 15% reduction. We're setting a goal for ourselves for 2019 to have a 30% reduction. That's obviously an ambitious goal, but that's what we want to do. And if we do that, that will get us as a city below 400 homicides. That's still way too many, but that would be the first time since 1965 that we go below 400. So that's a benchmark we're shooting for. And I just want to give kids their childhoods back. And our kids, we talked about earlier, just living with a level of fear and trauma that is just beyond unacceptable to me. And we have a lot of hard work ahead of us, but our guides are going to lead us where we need to go.
CRED focuses mostly on work with young men in the community. But as we know, men are only half of the community, probably a little bit less than half. And is there any missed opportunities from not working with women as well? And if not, what are the ways that women have influenced the policy around gun violence, and what are the ways that they can help and be part of the solution as well?
We're trying to really focus on those who are shooting and being shot, which that reality in Chicago are wildly disproportionately young men. Having said that, there are some female shooters, but more importantly, to your point, that those partnerships, those relationships can help reduce. Every day we're trying to reduce risk. Those relationships can help to reduce risk, or they can actually increase risk and stress. And domestic violence is a real issue we struggle with our young men. Guys who have experienced violence all their life, to think that they're going to do that on the streets and not see some of that, in their homes is unrealistic. So we are not doing enough, and there are lots of areas where we're trying to get better every single day, but we're trying to do more with partners. We're doing more with the children of our guys, and helping our guys just start to understand what a healthy relationship looks like and feels like, and how do you resolve conflict, not just on the streets, but in your home. And so that's a hugely important piece of the equation, as you said. Again, sometimes those relationships are very helpful. Other times they've actually significantly increased the risk of our guys. And we have to continue to get better at helping our young men and their partners know how to treat each other in a healthy, respectful way. And unfortunately, so many of our guys have never seen what a more traditional, healthy relationship looks like. It's just not their lived experience. And so it's trying to teach a new set of skills.
I see. President Barack Obama is working on constructing his presidential library here in Chicago. I was wondering if you guys had any future plans to collaborate together on these issues that are important to you.
Yes, I'm thrilled. Hopefully it'll happen here. It's taking a little longer than we would like, but it's going to be just an amazing resource for hundreds of years here in Chicago, and it'll create a set of economic opportunities on the south side and hopefully also on the west side that just haven't existed. So I'm working very, very closely with the foundation team. I co-chair the committee looking at economic development in the neighborhoods around the library, Woodlawn and Washington Park and South Shore, and very, very hopeful about what the library can do, yes, to inspire future leaders from across the planet, but also to directly impact some of the issues of disinvestment that our communities and unemployment that our communities have faced here in Chicago on the south side and west side for far too long. I'm really hoping the museum can be a catalyst to fundamentally change that.
Awesome. And last two questions, both one-word answers each. You have balled with President Obama before, and I just want to know, between the two of you, who's better?
I'll give you a 4-word answer. I plead the fifth.
There you go. Okay. Second question, and we can make some news here. Who's better between your son or Obama? Ryan.
Oh my goodness, my son's young. He's young, so he's got a long way to go. So he's having some fun. He's a freshman in high school.
I've seen him play. I think there's some real shots there.
He's having some fun. That's all I care about.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you, Arne, for sitting down with us. This has been a pleasure to get your insight and experience. We hope the best in your ventures going forward. Thank you, UC3P listeners, for tuning into this interview with Arne Duncan. I'm your host, Julian Lake.
Thanks so much for having me. You did a great job.
Problem.
Thank you.
Take care.
And that's another episode of UC3P. The credits for this one go to me and Julian. Julian did the interview, and I did the producing, engineering, and editing. I have to say, having sat there for the interview, this one was really a good time. And it was easy. So for all of you thinking about getting involved with UC3P, do it. Seriously, we can teach you everything you need to know. And if you'd like, your voice can be the next one on our next podcast. Anyway, you know what I'm going to say. Stop what you're doing, pause this episode, and subscribe to UC3P. It's easy. Take out your smartphone, go on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts, and click the big fat subscribe button. Before I go, I'm going to remind you one more time. Go listen to Chicagoland. Seriously, it's really good. And each podcaster puts in so much work. Your help really makes a difference. So subscribe, check us out, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, and that's it from me. I'm David Raban, signing out.
Hi, this is Jason Zukis, the host of Have You Heard? The UC3P News Quiz. Curious to know what our show's all about? Here, have a listen.
Iceland has fielded a surprisingly successful team in recent World Cups. Iceland's coach, Heimar Hallgrímsson, has a skill set not limited to just soccer, however. Which of these things does he not do on the side? A. Work part-time as a dentist. B. Dress up as an Icelandic troll during Christmas time. Or C. Sell car insurance to friends and family.
Oh, man. I feel like he definitely does the troll thing. Like, I'm pretty sure. I wouldn't be shook if he was a dentist. I'm going to go with car insurance.
That's correct. He does not do that.
If you enjoyed that clip, come check out all of our episodes by searching for Have You Heard? UC3P on your preferred podcast platform. Or join one of our upcoming live shows. Just go to facebook.com/HYH News Quiz for more info on our next show. See you there.